Hi everybody, I've been doing a series of blogs down here in Mexico on the subject of coping with and learning some important life lessons from both what you would say natural disasters such as the Oklahoma tornado and also man-made disasters or tragedies such as the Boston Marathon bombings and also that terrible situation that happened just a little while ago in England with that off-duty policeman being attacked and killed. And what we saw in those situations, what we discussed in the last couple of blogs, is the incredible experience of people coming together as one, seeing the common humanity in each other, and are actually even willing to risk their lives for another person. And one of the things we discussed, the reason why, is that they suddenly, in those terrible, drastic situations, realize that life is the ultimate treasure, and they act upon it. Now, that's almost like a natural instinct for us, but it's much harder to keep up that level of intensity, of that level of bonding in day-to-day life due to the lack of events like that. And so what I want to do here is slightly transition from seeing life as the ultimate treasure in situations like that, and transition it into seeing life as a treasure, something to be treasured, in a blog today with a couple of techniques about that. So it's an absolute fact, unfortunately, that many people simply do not see life as a treasure. The amount of depression these days is unbelievable. A lot of people have a lack of self-esteem. There's a lot of cursing about life. There's the famous phrase, life's up, then you die. That's a very common attitude about life. We just do not see life as a treasure. And I had a period of time in my life where I was exactly the same. I didn't enjoy life very much. No matter what I did at a younger age in my life, I was constantly frustrated. I'll give you some examples and you might be able to identify with them. If I played a good sports game, even though I played well, didn't play incredibly well, got really upset about it, could be depressed for days. And an idea of love, that love had to be this magical experience in life that was attainable without any problems. Of course, that didn't work either. If I would meet someone in a grocery store and I smiled at them and they didn't smile back, I would get incredibly depressed at myself because I felt I was not good enough to create that relationship, and yet it wasn't really my fault. Again, my body, if I worked out at the gym and I didn't have, a really top six-pack, I just didn't feel happy about it. I just wasn't satisfied. And that's the key word here. When you have a lack of satisfaction all the time in your life, you better start thinking of a way to deal with it. And that's what I did. And so it took me quite a long time to analyze why this was happening to me. And it's probably happening to a lot of you too. I had adopted throughout time, I don't know from when, a wrong way of thinking about myself and about life. And it's called the big word, perfectionism. And this word is such a dangerous word, it's a dangerous way of thinking that I please implore you to consider a couple of things I'm going to say here because they can help you change your life. Now, why is perfectionism such a bad thing? Well, as you can see, even in the cases I just said, I was a perfectionist. If whatever I was doing did not work out perfectly, ideally, I was going to get disappointed and frustrated. And so I was always chasing a star in the horizon that I was never going to be able to catch. And the result? Frustration, depression, feelings of anxiety, feelings of guilt. I couldn't forgive myself for not getting to the highest point all the time. And I ended up quite an unhappy person. But as soon as I realized that, I came to the understanding that if you lowered the barrier of perfectionism to something, for example, like excellence, then you realize that these things can be achieved. It takes the pressure off your shoulders, and you can suddenly start having a creative life in whatever you're doing, a love life that it can be excellent, but you're not lost in some perfect world that is never going to happen for you. And what happened for me was that I found I was a lot happier with myself, I started to love myself, started to love the world a lot better. I forgave myself about not being able to always meet the highest possible standards, and I forgave the world itself too. And that's a key point, because in the wake of these natural disasters, etc., what's happened there is that we realize the world too is not a perfect place. And yet bad things can happen to us, but what we can realize is that we can strive for excellence, knowing that things like that can happen in the world, but we strive for excellence within ourselves. It gives us a greater flexibility of mind in order to appreciate the treasure that's possible in life. And here's one last example I'll leave you with by a favorite poet of mine, Dylan Thomas, a Welsh poet. He once said that if he didn't stop trying to correct his poems to make them perfect, he'd never be able to write another poem. And so here was a guy who was a creative genius, but he had to realize that if he stopped, if he started a new way of thinking about not being a perfectionist, the right way of thinking for him is that he could become even more creative. And that's the same lesson that we can have in our lives. Creativity, existentially, let's not set the barrier too high. Let's be the right me, not the ideal me or the perfect me. Take care. Bye-bye.